Hey there, Smokemaster D coming at you with another episode of Barbecue Buyer's Guide. This time we're going to take a look back at offset smokers with smoke collectors that are generally sized around 24 inches wide and 48 inches long. I won't be repeating everything about the features of these offset smokers from what I said in my previous videos. So if you want that, click on the links above to go to those videos. In this video, I will solely be focusing on changes regarding price and features when that's applicable. And of course, some new analysis and thoughts. And here I have some chapter times for you. Please remember to like this video and to subscribe to the channel. Now, one of the major reasons I'm doing this video is because of the changes at Workhorse Pits. One change, though perhaps not the most significant one, is that they raised their prices. For the base model of the 1975, it used to be $2,784. Now that price is $3,243.95. That's almost $460 more. And for a lot of you, that $460 is still a worthwhile trade-off for getting that pit, but it does shift things a little bit. The two things that really made the 1975 the market leader was a combination of the incredible value you got for your money and the engineering that produced a quality and, by some perspectives, superior offset smoker. All of that engineering quality is still there, but when the value per dollar shifts, there will be some people priced out of buying one. The higher price, however, isn't the only change. There are a number of things driving the changes at Workhorse Pits. My hypothesis is that it all started out with the question of how can we cut down the really long wait time for people who want our smokers. Workhorse started on the model of their sister company, Patriot Pits, which makes larger offsets for commercial use. Those are the kind that you make one at a time to order. This worked well for their direct-to-consumer online model until the wait times for Workhorse got so long that they inevitably lost customers over it and had to embrace the slogan, "worth the wait." So, to cut down on wait times, they decided to do two things that they're doing now. One, they decided to increase production. They built a new facility in Cleveland, Georgia to do that, where they also have their factory store now, Woodfire Mercantile. The other thing was to go to a dealership model so that you could quite possibly buy your pit the same day that you see it and look it over and take it home with you from one of those dealerships, of which their new store is one. Now, there are some definite consequences to this new model, which has been used for years by builders like Yoder and Meadow Creek, among others. One of the main consequences is that there will be an increased pressure to get the options that everyone else wants. You can tell this is true just by the way they've started calling having a top rack and Cowboy Firebox their fully loaded version. How much of their original options will remain, and how many might leave? That'll be hard to say. They're kind of in a transitional period right now. And in this period, though, I've looked at their options on their new websites, and the first time I looked, I could only buy the fully loaded 1975 with either raw or clear coat. And that was a little while ago. Then I looked again, and I could only buy their fully loaded wagon model with black paint. Today, when I looked again, I could get the fully loaded or the stock option. I have no idea what I would do if I really had my heart set on options that they had unavailable, that they had before. And what will likely happen, I think, is if they do open the options back up, is that you'll have to wait a good while to get your pit just like you did before. But if you want what everyone else wants, you can have it now. I wonder how many people will settle for the convenience of getting their pit earlier. Will they still keep the slogan "worth the wait"? What I really wish is that Workhorse had increased production, but not gone to this dealership model. I'm sure there must be some reason why that wasn't feasible, some matter of efficiency when you can plan materials or something like that in advance. If we're fortunate, Workhorse will become so efficient in producing their pits that they'll be able to open up service on their website like they had it before, and maybe even with more options. We've been waiting for that door counterweight for a long time now. The wait times will hopefully also be reasonably lower, but only time will tell. And unfortunately, it's really a bad time to buy a Workhorse pit now. All right, and here we have maps. I like to show maps just because the price of shipping can, affect your end price for buying any one of these pits. They're very heavy, so they have to charge a good bit to ship them to you. Let's take a look at California first. Up in Northern California, east of San Francisco, we have Murillo Metalworks. Then near Los Angeles, we have Harper Pitworks. The Texas area smokers down near Antonio and Lockhart, we have Mill Scale. The ones that are close to Dallas are going to be Blue Smoke Smokers, Big Phil Smokers, and Smokin Pits and Custom Sits. Just north of Houston, we have Lone Star Grillz. Up there in Oklahoma, we have Bell Fabrications. Legend Smokers is there in Missouri, sort of southwest of St. Louis. Now we have Shirley Fabrication there in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. The Workhorse Pits are made northeast of Atlanta, Georgia. TMG Pits are out of Knoxville, Tennessee. Then Green Money Fab is west of New York, I think maybe in Pennsylvania. Patriot Pits is up there, I believe, in Massachusetts. So, two good pit builders in the northeast of the country. And here, we're going to go through each of the pits and see what's changed about them since my last time going over them. The Bell Fabrications base of 1750 includes the $150 for the smoke collector, since that's one of the guidelines for inclusion in this episode, which means that the real base without the collector is $1,600 if you don't want a smoke collector. The other really interesting thing is that this price is actually for a 26-inch diameter smoker, which Craig says he can actually get cheaper than 24 inches. So you get that extra 2 inches. That also means that my inches in my graphs to come are off. That this thing should be doing even better there than I have, but I didn't change it. Sorry about that. So another thing to note is that the second level shelf comes standard. The Cowboy Firebox is $150 extra, as is the front wagon wheels instead of the T-bar stand. Now, the Blue Smoke Smoker appears to have only gone up in price for the smoker itself. All of their other upgrade options have remained the same price. If I were buying this pit, I would at least get the stack damper and the linseed oil treatment, bringing the price up to $2,300. I really think that you need those upgrades to make it worthwhile. Now, Murillo Metalworks, the main thing to report is an update on the cost of add-ons, which you see there on the left. The upper cooking shelf is $150. From the picture, it looks like you could get maybe two in there. I'm not sure about that. The Firebox plancha top is $275. $150 for the door counterweight. Golf cart wheels, $1,000. I found those as the most interesting upgrades, and you can read the rest of them if you want. And now we have the Green Money Fab's Little Money Pit. It's pictured with the insulated firebox there, which is actually an extra $850. All of those prices that you see listed there have gone up, except for the thermometers, which are still $65. So nothing has changed concerning Big Phil's backyard model, which is the little Phranklin except with options for upgrades. And that part's a little bit confusing, You would think that they would just say it's the little Phranklin and you can get upgrades, but they actually have it at 2 different pages on their website. It's nice though that all these prices are still the same. And now, here's the Lone Star Grillz Texas Edition 48-inch. There's also a 40-inch, but we're only covering the 48-inch here. On my last video examining this pit, I didn't go into many of the upgrade options, so here I'll mention that the 8-inch wheels are an extra $175. The golf cart wheels pictured are $895. The second level half rack makes a full upper rack, and it's $45. Just to note, I think it comes standard with that upper half rack. The slide out ash pan, which would be super helpful, is $115. The probe port is $25. The charcoal insert, if you want to grill in the main chamber, is $95. Now here we have the Moab from Smokin Pits and Custom Sits. Everything appears to be the same except that they no longer list custom engravings on their upgrade list. One thing I didn't think I noticed before is that the customer decides whether they want a drop-in or pull-out grate for their main grate, which I think is a cool thing to be able to decide. And here we have the Patriot Pits Freedom 94. Interestingly enough, the counterweight is now actually less money. So it used to be $250 and it's now $175. The folding shelf is $150. They no longer have a stainless option for that shelf. The warming plate is $140 and the folding stack is $65. Now for Shirley Fabrications 94-gallon. The counterweight is $200. It's that big old T-bar there. The wagon wheels are $1,200 and the cowboy firebox is $275. They have one of the longest fireboxes at 28-inch, which I like. And now we have the Volunteer. If you want the griddle top firebox, it's $500 extra. A butcher's block on your shelf is $300. Stainless shelf is also $300. The off-road package is $1,300 and the trailer is an extra $2,500. And now we have the mill scale, one of the most expensive smokers of its size. That extends also to its upgrades. The plancha option is $1,170 extra. The upper cooking grate is $480. They also sell a cover now for $665. And now for the last pit that we're going to talk about, the Harper Pitworks 120 gallons. They don't do upgrades because they say it already has everything you should ever want already standard. They closed their waitlist some time ago and have been working off what was on the waitlist for some time, but they're almost about ready, I hear, to open that list back up soon. So that's exciting. And if you're interested in their pits, I would definitely contact them so that they can contact you when that window for purchasing has opened again. But now let's look at the difference between prices on my first episode and where things are now. The first thing to note on this slide is that Fat Stack has gone out of business. I don't know everything about what happened, but I do know it wasn't a demand issue. There was plenty of that, and plenty of people who put down money on pits that never got their pits delivered and lost their money. Somehow things were mismanaged or overpromised, and likely both. And here on this slide, we have the new prices. I included some smokers that I compared to the 1975 after that first episode, one of which, the Legend 2400, is likely to be retired after the solution offset really gets rolling. In fact, on their website, the Legend is no longer available for purchase. It may still be available in some retail outlets because it was on the dealership model, so some dealers may still have it. I do intend to do a show looking at the solution soon, so stay tuned for that. Another thing to note is that these pictures may have options that aren't included in the price as shown. The BellFab there, for instance, is priced without the front wheels at $17.50. So that $17.50 price doesn't include those. The blue smoker now starts at $2,100. The Murillo Metalworks at $2,500, and the green Moneyfab Little Money Pit at $2,900. Notice also that I updated the Little Money Pit's photo to one that actually contains the 90-gallon pit. Then we have the Workhorse Pits 1975, basically in the same place it was before in this lineup, with a base price of $3,244. That is if you are able to get the base model whenever you go to their website. The little Phranklin from Big Phil's is $3,500. Then I included the fully loaded 1975 at $3,549 to show you where that stands in the middle of all these. The Lone Star Grillz Texas Edition is 48 inches, is $3,590 on casters. The picture shows the wheel upgrade. Smokin Pits and Custom Sits, the Moab is at $3,660. Freedom 94 is at $3,950. The Legend 2400, if it's still available near you, is $3,995. The Shirley Direct Flow Smoker starts at $4,250. The TMG Volunteer, with its slightly larger chamber, starts at $4,500. The Mill Scale 94-gallon, $4,920. And then lastly, the Harper Pitworks 120-gallon at $5,450. And here on this page, I have the percent increase in price since I last covered these smokers. All the ones at the top have not gone up in price since I covered them last time. The Mill Scale 94-gallon, already on the expensive side, went up 3%. The Harper Pitworks, 10%. The much cheaper BellFab, 10%. The Murillo Metalworks, 11%. And then the Workhorse Pits. The Mace model went up 16.5%, while the fully loaded actually went up almost 18%. When I talked to their representative, he told me that they'd realized that making that cowboy firebox needed to cost more because it took so much labor and time to do. So that's likely to be the difference there. Then the blue smoker, also on the cheaper side, went up 23%, 23.5%. The green Moneyfab Little Money Pit went up the highest percentage at nearly 32%. And actually went up a spot in the price lineup as well. I thought I would upgrade my square inches charts. One important thing to remember is that slide-out grates will always mean that you have to fit your grate to your door. That cuts off some of the grate space, so if you like pull-out grates, be prepared to make that sacrifice. Since these smokers are meant to have a fairly similar size chamber, you don't see a particularly wide variance here. The lowest, of course, is the Mill Scale, which has that baffle plate that cuts down on the grate space. Big Phil smokers appear to have the most. Here we have the dollar per inches squared for the main grate. All the bargain smokers are there on the left, then Workhorse Pits, and the more expensive smokers are on the right. Now here we have inches combined with a second level grate, so all of the inches in the main chamber. One thing to remember when you're putting a grate in a barrel is that the curve of the sides are a limiting factor. The higher you go, the more they curve in. Now, the Volunteer there, which has the most space, actually has a chamber longer than 48 inches, which helps, even though it has slide-out grates for both of its grates. There's a lot of variance you can have with your second level grate, and it depends on how the builder situates it. Here we have the dollar per inches squared for both racks in the main chamber. You see that the BellFab takes the lead because with the second level grate that comes standard. And another thing is with that 26-inch barrel, it's probably going to do even better than that. Workhorse Pits is still at a respectable place. Of the premium smokers, Big Phil's looks like it gives you the best bargain. Now, instead of weight, I've decided to do metal thickness this time. Part of the reason for that is that a lot of these builders just give an estimate anyway. so it's not particularly exact and maybe not as helpful as you'd want. The difference in heat retention between quarter and 3/8 inch probably isn't a huge difference, and the trade off is that thicker metal takes longer to heat up. It also makes the door a good deal heavier. I didn't find out what the thickness was for the Harper Pitworks, but since most tanks are quarter inch, that's what I would guess. Interestingly enough, the Big Phil's little Phranklin is a quarter inch, while Blue Smoke Smoker's pit, owned and operated by the same people, is 3/8. So now I'll answer with some thoughts on whether the Workhorse Pits is still king. Looking at this data has helped me get over the initial shock of the price hike. While the previous price was obviously better for consumers, the 1975 is still about the same place relative to its competitors. All the other changes, however, are a bit more worrisome, and only time will tell whether those will get any better or not. Maybe by the time you're watching this, they will have. The Workhorse 1975 is still a really good pit, and I hope that everything works out for those people who do want to purchase it still. And now, for all of the other smokers, I wouldn't really advise against buying any of these smokers. The mill scale is the only one that I might be on the fence about for that, mostly because it's really expensive. But if you have the money, it looks like it works pretty well. If I were you, I'd probably start looking at builders closest to you from the map section. Maybe there are some features that really stand out to you from one pit builder or another. Maybe you really like the insulated fireboxes, or maybe the artistic flourishes of Patriot Pits or Smokin Pits and custom sits. Maybe you're looking for the bare basics and want the Blue Smoke Smoker. Craig at BellFab Fabrications will give you a bargain price and build your smoker really any way you want it. Anyways, those are my thoughts. If you have some thoughts, please share those in the comments below. Or if you own any of these pits, please put a review in the comments and help one of your fellow barbecue brother know. And as always, go get your smoke on, y'all.